Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios in the frozen tundra. Welcome aboard on this Friday. Jim Coyle with you. Todd Leary along as well as big day today. Todd, how are you, sir?
I'm great. It's a special playoff version issue of Indiana Sports Beat.
It certainly is, man, and it's going to be a fun one. There is I'm in South Bend, and there is some snow on the ground right now. It's I have to get a better look, but probably 4 inches or so out there.
Wow.
It looks nice. I wonder what the field itself. I doubt that they have heaters in the field up here.
I have no idea.
They're not used to play. This is the first game ever played in the month of December, I believe.
Is it really?
Well, of the coldest, they had a list of the coldest games ever, and they were all in November.
Wow. Okay.
Which makes sense because they've never.
Yeah, you don't generally host bowls, or there's never been playoffs before in home arenas. So yeah, probably first.
Exactly. It ought to be fun, man. It's the cold. Let me tell you, if you're coming to this game, you better have your long underwear, your short underwear, your medium underwear, your overwear. It's a different kind of cold, man.
Yeah,
I'm not
up there in that region area. I know it's not quite like Chicago, but it's pretty close. I mean, you get that cold chill that goes through the air, and I remember my son had some high school football games up in the South Bend area, and it was cold, super cold.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of cold, man. This stuff comes directly from the North Pole, I believe. How's everybody doing today, man? Plenty to get to. A loaded show. Started off with the great Todd and Larry from myjumpshot.com. Sean McDonough will join us as well. Looking forward to talking to Sean. He'll be on the call tonight for ABC for this college football playoff game. This is big, man. It's huge. Plus, all eyes will be on this game tonight, Todd.
Right. Yeah. For the first, being the only game scheduled, when it first came out, I wasn't sure how I felt about it being the only one on the Friday. But actually, I think it's probably a good thing, especially if Indiana is able to, play the way that we think they're capable of. It'd be a good thing for everybody to have a chance to see them.
Well, Kurt Cignetti certainly got his wish. I think I deleted the clip that I had, unfortunately, and daggone it, I did. Yesterday, I played a clip that he said, "I hope it snows 1.5 feet. We've got a Canadian quarterback. Did you see him throw against Purdue?" He goes, "Looked pretty good to me." So.
Yeah, he's not lacking confidence, and hey, he's backed it up so far. So let's just ride that train one more week.
Absolutely. Indiana basketball back on the hardwood tomorrow as well. That kind of gets lost in the shuffle, man. Right now,
yeah.
It's hard to imagine that Indiana has a basketball game, and that is not it's not taking center stage. But plus, it's against Chattanooga, so this is not a Big Ten game. It's not a big-time game. It's also at noon. A little surprising.
Yeah, I mean that's with all the football games going on, in the rest of the college football playoffs, it probably made sense. But yeah, these games are very difficult, and I'm just going to be really honest. They're very difficult for players. I don't want to say to get ready for or get up for, but I mean it's a little more difficult when it's easier to get up for the CBS big time game and you're playing a top 25 team and in those weekend slotted time frames, it's much easier to get up and excited for those games. And so I'll just say I expect Indiana to win. They'll overpower, over physical, out athletic Chattanooga. And the same thing will happen next weekend, probably against Winthrop. They'll probably have a similar circumstance, but it's a difficult thing, but it's the last couple of tune-up opportunities before every game really counts. And I know they all count, but once the Big Ten comes around, full-time Big Ten schedule, that's what you're really working for in these early season games.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned Winthrop, the other game that they have left before they get back into Big Ten play, which once they hit that, it'll be no fun. It'll be the NFL. No fun league, baby.
That's supposed to be the fun. That's supposed to be the fun.
They'll have to get after it. And it's an opportunity for Indiana to kind of work out some of its ills right now. Things are not going in the way that a lot of people like for them to see. But it's early enough that they can still get things turned around. They have the talent to do that. And whether or not they do, well, that's on them, and that's up to them.
Yeah, it is. And I'll just tell you, it's difficult to, to be geared up for these games. I just keep reiterating the same thing. These games are not easy, but the players have an opportunity to go out and clean some things up. And, as fans, it's really a no-win situation from the team's perspective, because if they play great, well, they're supposed to play great. They're supposed to kill Chattanooga. And if they don't, then you're kind of set up for criticism and you're set up for failure a little bit. And so that's why the games are, there's really no winning in these games. You just have to go out and try to improve as a team, do the things you're supposed to do, clean up some of the little mistakes that you've been making. And it gives you an opportunity to build some confidence. And that's, confidence and momentum is a big thing when you're in the Big Ten season and you can go steal a game against a team that maybe is flat on that day. And this is the opportunity for you to build that confidence and get yourself, ready for where every game is a grind. Like every single game is going to be a battle.
Yeah, Five Labs mentioned get that hard truth, little nip in the coffee. I don't have coffee or hard truth, so I'm striking out here today.
That's a rough morning for old Jim Coyle.
A little. They got this bourbon cream. They've just got some great stuff, man. It's crazy, but boy, I cannot imagine a 12 o'clock game against basically a team that you should destroy. I can't imagine that. That's got to be hard to get up for. First of all,
it is.
You got to wake up. You got to get into this routine on a Saturday morning, which everybody has to do it. I get it.
Well,
but,
hey,
yeah.
Look, Jim, let's just be honest. These are college kids, and they're going to be on a college campus tonight that's going to be electric. I mean, yeah, there's some of the students that have gone up. There's some students gone home, I'm sure, for Christmas break. But the campus is going to be big, and these players are here. They're going to be here watching the games. It's not like they're going to bed at 9 o'clock tonight. They're going to be up watching this basketball game too. So you're 100% right. Tomorrow morning, you got to be up and eating breakfast, or eating your training table at like 8:30 in the morning. And then you got to walk through and shoot around, and then you got to be ready to play when that ball tips at noon. And so it's not easy, but these are also, 18 to 23-year-old kids that they handle those situations a little better than we do as aged adults.
I understand that, my friend. Absolutely, and it seems like I understand that more and more every day. It becomes more of a reality.
Yep, no doubt.
What are some of the things that you need to see from this team, even against Winthrop or Chattanooga, whomever, these next two games? They've got some things they need to work out. I mean, what was it, 6 for 35 from behind the 3-point line last time? I know you like to see them shoot more threes, but you don't want to see them shooting 35 if they're not going to make only 6.
Yeah, but that's such a small sample size. I understand what you're saying, and I agree. If they went 4 or 5 games in a row, and 35's maybe extreme. I don't think it is, but it's maybe extreme. But in that 25 to 30 range is what I think that's what most teams end up shooting. And I think if they did that, consistently in games, I think the number would improve as far as how many they made. I don't think you can just judge that off of one game that they shot a ton of them, because Indiana generally doesn't shoot that many. But yes, shooting, one of the things, you ask what do you look for in these? I think they've got to shoot the ball better, but I think one of the things that we look at as a positive also kind of needs to start shaking itself out a little bit, in that we need to see some more consistency out of numbers from guys. Like, we can't have games where Rice has 20 points and then 4 points, and then 17 points and then no points, and Carlisle, we can't have zeros in the scoring column and then the next game, shoot 14 times, and then just a consistency as far as your production. That's what they need to see in these games. And I don't think that Rice should average 20, but he also should definitely average, more than between 12 and 15. Like, he's got to be a consistent guy that you can count on. I think Ballo is a guy you can consistently count on. You're going to get pretty close to the same numbers out of him almost every game. And I think Malik Renew and Rice and Carlisle, Trey Galloway, Mbako, those guys have got to, figure out a way to be more consistent. We don't need the big highs. We just can't have the lows. And, the comment there about Mbako picking up 2 fouls in 30 seconds, that to me that's a sign of he wasn't ready to play. Like, you can't pick up 2 fouls in 33 seconds. Like that. You just can't do that. Like, that's, if you're thinking your way through a basketball game, you're not mentally into that game if you pick up 2 fouls in 33 seconds. I'd have let the second guy lay it in. I mean, when he fouled the guy on that second, Bryce Williams, on that second play of the first part of the game, like, that's just something you can't do. And his head wasn't in the game. He wasn't mentally prepared when the game started. Fact. No way you can dispute that.
And it's funny you say that. I watched the UConn Xavier game the other night. Great game. Oh, overtime, battle,
right.
gritty. That was a fun college basketball game to watch. And UConn, probably not what they were last year, but they're still gritty. They're still going to fight. But the one thing I noticed about Liam McNeely, he looked like he was having fun. I mean, he was smiling. He was battling. He was going through all. I look at Mackenzie Mbako. He looks like he's miserable on the basketball court.
Yeah.
I don't think he's having fun.
No, I mean, I think he said this the last broadcast after the postgame show. Like, they don't look like they're having fun, and it's hard to have fun when you're struggling. Like, this team has not played well. They've not played games where I think that they played to the potential that they think that they're capable of, and definitely the coaching staff thinks that they are. And that makes it difficult. That makes it harder to rally and get yourself up. Like, you can fake it, but it becomes obvious when you fake it. And I think Mbako is a guy that he's a guy you've got to just help through. Like, the other players hold a little bit of responsibility. I know that seems weird to say, but I mean, they've got to help him get mentally into the game. And when they started that game out, now it happened so quickly in 33 seconds, I don't really know what someone could have done, but that's just, those situations are ones that you've got to, as a team, rally around and try to make sure they don't happen again. I hope someone's talked to him about picking up 2,033 seconds. I will be totally honest with you. It won't shock me if no one has talked to him about it. But I mean, like, that's a conversation. Like, you need to sit down and say, hey, look, like, starting a game out, you got to understand, like, you got to play solid defense. Like, there's no going for steals or going for blocks or no possibilities of picking up a foul. You stay between your man and the basket to start the game out for the first 5 or 6 minutes. Let the officials get involved in the game. Let everybody get their flow and get their blood pumping and all of that before you put the officials in a position to have to make a potential second foul call. And that's, it truly is a mindset. Like, you have to go into the game understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And that's what I hope they can work on in the last couple of games, is we see one, consistency out of all of the players in their production and their stat lines. And we see, hopefully a little bit better shooting overall as a group. I think we would all agree Luke Goody's picked up his shooting rhythm a little better in the last couple of games. I think we're starting to be confident in him making shots. And then they got to come out and just mentally be prepared and be ready to play and understand what it takes to get a game started. And I think that's what they can take out of these last couple of pre-conference games.
We'll certainly find out as that happens tomorrow. All eyes will be on South Bend tonight, though, but looking forward to that. Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Make sure you go there and check it out for all those that are in need. Todd, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you as always.
Go Hoosiers. What a fun night. Can't wait.
Oh, it should be a fun day no matter what side you're on. Absolutely, buddy. Appreciate you. We've got lots more coming up, including the great Sean McDonough. He'll be on the call tonight for ABC. All of that and much more once we return to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Morale in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. It is game day. College football playoffs kicking off tonight in South Bend at Notre Dame Stadium. And I'm here for it, man. It should be a great one. Hopefully, Sean McDonough joining us here in a little bit. I think he may have a connection issue. I've seen him in here a couple of times, but he'll be on the call tonight for ABC Sports as this game takes center stage. It is the game, as opposed to tomorrow when the remainder of the first round college football playoff games take place. They'll be butting heads with the NFL and college basketball and whatnot. So this is going to be an all eyes on this game kind of situation and an incredible opportunity for Indiana. And Kurt Cignetti getting his wish. I would open the shades behind me to show you what it looks like outside, but I don't think the camera contrast would be able to take it. As far as there's snow out there. If I had to guess, I'd say 4 inches or so. It's not snowing now, I believe. Whether it snows more or not, I'm not sure, but this gives them plenty of time to clean the field off, so that should not have an impact. It is going to be cold, without question. And last night I was like, wow, this is not fun. But this is up north cold. There's a difference. Buddy, it's only 3 hours difference. And so probably just got to do Sean on the phone here. He's having some problems connecting, but we'll reach out to give him a call and get Sean McDonough on. He'll be on the call, and we'll take care of that right now. As looking forward to talk to known Sean for over 30 years. Met him as a production assistant when I was with CBS, working on NCAA basketball. Sean has done virtually everything. He's one of the most iconic voices in all of sports broadcasting. Hey, Sean, how's it going, my friend?
Connect to your outstanding operation here, but goodness, I can see you and hear you.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, I see you there. It's we're all. I'm on mobile. I'm mobile. I'm in the mobile studio today as well. So it's not as normal as it would be, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be a great time. How have you been, sir?
I'm very well. Super excited about this. Looking forward to tonight. Should be a great game.
Absolutely. Sean McDonough joining us. He'll be on the call for ABC Sports. And Sean is, as our Tim Brando called, he was with us last week, Sean, and he said, you are the blueprint of people. If you're wanting to be in this business, that you are the blueprint for how to do it.
Oh, well, it's very kind to him, especially coming from somebody like Tim, who's, a great broadcaster. And matter of fact, I just got my National Sports Media Association ballot to vote for the sports writers and sportscasters of the year and the Hall of Famers, and he's on the ballot as a possible inductee into the Hall of Fame. So I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from anybody, but especially from somebody like Tim.
Well, and you are absolutely just one of the people that I love to hear you when you're on a call of the game. I love it. I just love to listen to how you call a game. You make it exciting, you make it fun, you make it unique, and that is hard to do, and that's what makes great broadcasters great and makes them stand out. So you certainly do that. And man, what a long, distinguished career. You have worked for CBS, for ESPN. You have done every sport possible. and you're just it's hard to last in that business. And not only have you lasted, but you've lasted at the top.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel really blessed to have an opportunity to do all these things. You know, as you said, you and I met a very long time ago. I was just starting out at CBS in the early 90s. And, here we go again, right? You think, wow, I've been so blessed to do a lot of unbelievable events. And then, I think what we're going to experience here tonight, Jim, is going to be a career highlight for me. I put it really at the very top because, we're talking about the first college football playoff game ever on a campus, and then to have it be at Notre Dame with all the history and tradition here, and then have it be, an in-state game against an Indiana team that's one of the great stories in college football this year with so many great storylines. I just can't imagine how it could be any better, more exciting. We're still 11 hours away. I wish we were kicking it off right now.
Absolutely. I think the fans will certainly wish they were kicking it off now, so you didn't have to wait through the cold and the snow. Kurt Signetti had a comment yesterday when he met with us a few days ago, but someone asked him about the possibility of snow. And he said, I hope it snows 1.5 feet. He said, we've got a Canadian quarterback.
Yeah, we saw it, right? In the game Purdue. I was speaking to Tim Brando. I was just watching my friend on the tape of the Purdue game, and it was very similar weather to what we're having in South Bend right now. Snow flurries. It's around 30 degrees. I believe the kickoff temperature for the Purdue game was 29, 21 wind chill. Snow on the field, as you know. So I don't think we're going to have snow on the field tonight. We're having some flurries here this morning. I think that's supposed to go away by early afternoon, and I did ask Curtis Rourke about it when we visited with him. He's from Oakville, Ontario. He said most of the time when he was playing football as a kid growing up, their season ended in mid-November. So, yeah, he grew up in the cold, but he didn't really play that many games in the cold. But he'll take what he did against Purdue. 6 touchdown passes in that weather was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was a nice outing. Of course, unfortunately for them, they're not playing Purdue tonight. They're playing a team that beat Purdue 66-7 back earlier in the season. This is going to be, to me, this game just comes down to the defensive line of Indiana and the running game of Notre Dame. That's where it starts and ends, I believe, because Notre Dame is kind of one-dimensional when it comes on the offensive side. They're not a good passing team. Riley Leonard, not known as a great throwing quarterback, but he can run. He is dangerous in that regard. So Indiana, without question, has to slow the run down. I don't think they're going to stop a running attack like Penn State has, but they have to put a dent in it and force Notre Dame to throw the ball, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think of all the elements of this game, that's really the key. Notre Dame's a very run-heavy team. They're 10th in the country in rushing yards. They really have 3 guys who can hurt you. The 2 running backs are both averaging 7 yards per carry for the year.
That's crazy.
In all FBS football, with running backs who've had at least 75 carries, there's only 11 guys in the whole country, running backs, with 75-plus carries who are averaging 7 yards per carry. Notre Dame has 2 of them. And then, as you said, the whole key to the game might be Riley Leonard. It's unusual a team at this level runs the quarterback as much as they do. And I think Riley Leonard, because, if you don't win, the season's over for them, he's going to run even more than usual tonight. And then, as you said, Indiana is the best run-stopping team in the country. I think it's a combination of really talented players, but also a unique scheme. They do a lot of disguising of the fronts, moving guys around. I think it's helped Notre Dame, by their admission, to have a couple weeks to prepare for that with a little extra time leading into this game. But I do think you're right. I think the most important part of this game will be can Notre Dame run the ball? Can Indiana stop the run?
And then, of course, Indiana will probably still be able to pass the ball, even though it's going to be very cold. You mentioned the Purdue game. Curtis Rourke had little trouble getting the ball around to his receivers, 6 touchdowns in that game, and everybody got in on the action. So it didn't seem to affect him in that regard, and I don't think there's going to be much difference tonight.
No, well, we'll see. I think, as you said earlier, it's a much different defense for Notre Dame than it is against Purdue. So it'll be a lot harder. But it was impressive what he did. 6 touchdown passes, threw for 349. It's a really good receiving group. they're deep. Surratt's probably the best player as I watch the films and talk to the Notre Dame coaches and the Indiana coaches. But they have a lot of other guys who are very productive. The tight end is a threat, obviously, in the passing game as well, and Zach Borton, and they have a couple of really good running backs. So I think one of the keys tonight will be, how does the Indiana offensive line hold up? As you know, they had a key injury at the guard position to Drew Evans a few weeks ago. I'm not sure the offensive line has been as good. Now, some of that might be the uptick in competition, right? I mean, in that time they played Ohio State, they played Michigan. So that could be a part of it too. But this is a really, really good Notre Dame defense, one of the very best in the country, two of the best defenses in the country. So I think another key, Jim, will be turnovers, right? Notre Dame has been thriving all year on takeaways, one of the best in the country. And Indiana's been one of the best in the country at not turning it over, particularly Curtis Rourke. So I think if Indiana can stay with that, not turn the ball over, it would certainly help their chances tonight.
Yeah, Notre Dame has made a living on causing turnovers and blocking kicks this year. So they do a lot of little things that help win games. So the Indiana is going to have to be on their toes and making sure they pay attention, because the special team miscues is actually what probably cost them being in the game at Ohio State. I'm not going to say it cost them the game, but it certainly put them in a perilous situation with those miscues on the special teams.
Yeah, I think you're right on it again. Kurt Signetti, when we talked to him about the kind of keys to this game, that's one of the first things he talked about, is how excellent Notre Dame is in the punt game on both sides of it, right? They, as you said, they run a lot of fake punts. They ran one. We had the game against Navy. They ran one of that game. I just watched the tape of the USC game, which is their last game. They ran a great fake punt against USC. And you're right. Watching the tape of the Ohio State game, that's a 7-7 game with 2 minutes to go in the half, and then the IU punter just can't handle a snap that basically get him right in the hands. And that was, to me, a game-changing play. So Indiana can't have that sort of thing happen tonight. I do think Kurt Signetti, one of his concerns, coaches are worried about everything, as you know, but I do think the punt game tonight is one of the things that's foremost on his mind.
And I'm wondering what the weather won't impact the game much, but I wonder if it will impact the crowd's noise level. Not so much the crowd, because people will show up for this game. That's no doubt about that. But there's been a lot of talk about Notre Dame basically being a soft stadium to play in, as though it doesn't get as loud as other places that may be. And Notre Dame has made great efforts this week to get to their fans, to make it known to them, hey, we need you to be loud. They're doing the rally towels that Indiana's been doing all season long. They're pulling out all the stops to take advantage of having a home game in this playoff.
Yeah, obviously, if you haven't worked for NBC, you haven't broadcast a game here since 1990. So I do not have a lot of firsthand experience here in terms of broadcasting games and the crowd noise. I was here in 1995 to do a radio game for Boston College when they played here and lost to Notre Dame. But, that's a big part of the story for us. Nobody really cares, right, about the broadcasters. But to be the first group that doesn't work for NBC to do a game at Notre Dame Stadium since 1990 is really awesome for us. As I said earlier, I mean, to have the chance to do the first college football playoff game on campus anywhere would be tremendous. To have it be at Notre Dame makes it even that much more tremendous. And then, to know that no one else except NBC people have broadcast a game here since 1990 really just adds to the whole thing again.
Yeah, actually, I was here in 91 the last time Indiana and Notre Dame played. So, yeah, that covers a lot of time.
Game. Yeah, that was the first game of NBC's contract with Notre Dame, September of 1991. Wild back in the last time these two teams played anywhere, 1991, which seems a little hard to believe given that they're 200 miles apart in the same state. But Notre Dame has a lot of commitments, as you know, to rivalry games, with Navy and USC, and makes it hard for them to schedule much else.
Yeah, in Indiana, just honestly, the program had been terrible, so they probably had no desire to schedule Indiana, and I understand that. However, they are scheduled to for a home and home beginning in, I think, 2030, Sean.
Yeah, I'll be on the couch watching that, I think, but you never know. You never know. As long as I keep enjoying it as much as I am now, and hopefully people think I'm still capable of doing it, then we'll keep going because, this is, I said, that I'm as excited for this as anything I can remember. I just think to have it be the first college football playoff game, to have it be here, to have it be, the storylines on both of these teams, it's just, I can't imagine how it could be any better. I really can't. I think it's going to be an awesome game too.
I do too. I think this is a great matchup because of what it's coming down to. As already mentioned, Notre Dame's running game against Indiana's run defense, which is number 1 in the country against the run. So that is something has to give there, at least bend. But Indiana has a much better overall offense, but they also have to deal with the formidable Notre Dame defense, which is also very good. So this is a clash of titans in every area. These two teams are both equal in so many areas, and then they also have their positives that one of the other team doesn't have. So I think this could be an incredible close game throughout tonight.
Yeah, I think it is. I'd be very surprised if I think they're both excellent teams. Obviously, you take away the one loss that each of them's had, and they, not only have they won every other game, but they've pretty much destroyed the competition. I think, with the exception of the Michigan game, which was a 5-point win for Indiana, every other win they had was 14 points or more. And since the loss to NIU, Notre Dame's won every game 10 in a row by an average of 30 points per game. Now, the critics will say neither one of these teams has played a particularly hard schedule, and I think that's fair. They really haven't. I mean, you can only play who's on your schedule, and, they've done that, and they're going to not only beat them, they've hammered most of them. So, yeah, I think they're both deserving of being here, and I do agree with you. I think it's an even matchup, and it's really going to come down to the things we already talked about. Can Notre Dame run the ball? Can Indiana stop it? Can teams make plays in the kicking game? And, a lot of times in these sorts of games, it's the turnover margin that ultimately decides it too. I think if either team is +2 or more in the turnover margin, they're probably going to win. That's usually the way it goes.
Absolutely. Notre Dame has made a living off of forcing turnovers. You've talked about how exciting this game is going to be, for even from your standpoint, and for someone who has done all that you have. The fact that these things are still that exciting, that has to be invigorating to you.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, and every week's exciting. I get fired up. We had Clemson and SMU in the ACC championship game. I was all jacked up to do that. I had a little sign on my desk for years, EGITSB. Every game is the Super Bowl. That's the way I approach it. I feel really blessed to have an opportunity to do this. And when I stop feeling that way about any game, even if it's not a playoff game, just any game, then I'm going to stop doing this, because it's not fair to the audience if you have somebody announcing the game who, rather be off doing something else. But there isn't anything else I'd rather be doing. I still love this. I've wanted to do this since I was 5 years old, and I haven't lost any of the passion for it.
Well, you were born to do it, my friend, and it is obviously, as it comes through, as the quality of what you've been doing for decades now. For those that don't know, Sean is the son of Will McDonough, the famed Boston Globe columnist, and a sports family from way back, man. Boston runs deep into your roots. Syracuse grad up in the Northeast. But sports were just kind of in your veins from the beginning.
Yeah, grew up around my dad, following him around the games, back in the days at the Boston Globe. Back then, he covered all the sports. So we'd go to Red Sox spring training and Celtics and Bruins games. I think I went to every Patriot game when I was a kid at home. When they were terrible, people today, kids today probably don't realize, they don't remember past the Tom Brady era, that for a very long time, the Patriots were one of the worst teams in the NFL, and that was really my childhood when I lived and died with every game when they were going 3-11 or whatever they were doing. So, grew up around it, knew I wanted to do it at a very young age, and went off to Syracuse, wanting to do this, and have been very fortunate to catch a lot of breaks along the way. to have the opportunity to do what I'm doing. And yeah, as you said, my whole family and my brother Ryan was the general manager of the Phoenix Suns for 5.5 years. My brother Terry was involved in NFL scouting for a long time with a bunch of different organizations. So we grew up around it. We've been blessed to do it for a living, and we continue to be grateful every day. You know, I went to the Basilica here yesterday on the Notre Dame campus and down at the Grotto, and a lot of it was just reflecting, you know, prayers of thanksgiving for the awesome life that God has given me, because I wake up every day extraordinarily grateful for it, and especially today, every day, but, you know, especially today, I'm reminded of how fortunate I am. I mean, how many people would want to be in this stadium tonight, right? And only 77,000 of us are going to be there. So hopefully that means there are millions and millions watching on TV. There certainly will be.
Absolutely. And a great story to hear that. But yeah, ticket prices for this game, Sean, were just sky high. Checking the secondary market throughout the week, you could have bought tickets to all three of the other games totaled for less than what it was costing to get into this one.
Yeah, well, my brother Ryan, and he used to be with the Phoenix Suns. He lives in Louisville now. That's where his wife's from.
No kidding.
He's coming up with
that's where I met you.
Yes, you did. CFB tournament. I think it was in 1990, which is a very long time ago. But yeah, they live in Louisville and raising their kids there. They love it. And but he said, hey, you know, it's not that long a trip, but I think I might like to come up with some buddies. So I'm laughing. I said, I hope I can find you some tickets, because the last I saw, they were going for $1,200 a piece. So, yeah, so it's been a very hot ticket. I think the prices have come down slightly since then, but you're still laying out a lot of money if you're looking for a ticket today.
Absolutely. And it'll be, I'm curious to see how many Indiana fans will find their way into this game. I was talking to a gentleman a couple of days ago. He said, yeah, me and my son got 2 tickets. And I'm like, yeah, how'd you get? Well, we went on to a Notre Dame fan site and pretended to be Notre Dame fans. And we got 2 for $250 a piece. And I'm like, there you go.
Wow. That's amazing. And very fortunate.
Yeah. I asked him what he was going to wear to the game. And he said, overalls. So he covered that very, very smartly, very wisely. Just what is something that stands out in your long and distinguished career? I know that there are so many games, so many events, so many different sports. Is there one that stands out above the others? I know it's hard to pick stuff like that.
You know, there are a bunch. You know, I think one of the ones back in 1992, you know, had a chance to do the National League Championship Series and the World Series for CBS with the late great Tim McCarver. And you know, the playoffs, the National League Championship Series went to Game 7, bottom of the ninth. Atlanta was ahead 2-0. Pittsburgh was ahead 2-0. Atlanta rallied to score 3 runs. Sid Breed scored the winning run with 2 outs on a very close play at the plate. You know, it was one of the great baseball games of all time. So that would rank up there. The next year, you know, we had the World Series. Joe Carter won the World Series for Toronto with a home run in the 9th inning. You know, one of the very few times that's happened in the history of baseball, you know, college or pro. So, you know, those would be a couple of them. And then a lot of football games. And, you know, who knows? Hopefully the next time we chat, I'll be telling you this was the greatest classic of all time.
Well, let's hope so, man. I'm looking for a great one tonight. I know that you are looking for a great one as well. And you and your playoff partner. It is just going to be a great event no matter what. And I am looking forward to this. I know that all the fans are. This should be a jacked TV audience, Sean, because it's the only game in town. They're not fighting up against the NFL games like they will be tomorrow, as well as college basketball. This is it, man. This is center stage.
Yeah, it is. And as a matter of fact, I hate to cut this short, Jim, but I got to bounce into our production meeting to get ready to be on center stage here tonight with this classic game. So really appreciate you having me on, and great to see you and hear you again. And we'll look forward to talking to you down the road. Have a great Christmas.
Same to you, Sean McDonough. Hopefully I'll see you tonight on the call for the Indiana Notre Dame football college football playoff game tonight. Kind enough to take a few minutes to join us here today on the program. We've got more coming up. Zach Osterman, the insider for IU for the Indy Star, will join us right after we take a break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios and these messages.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday, and it is Game Friday, game day. The college football playoffs have arrived, and tonight in South Bend, it will be center stage as the Indiana Hoosiers take on the Fighting Irish. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joins us now, and Zach, I think I just learned that Indiana has replaced or announced the replacement for Tino Sunzeri, who left for UCLA. And I didn't pick all that up yet.
Yeah, no, his name is Chandler Whitmer. He played quarterback at UConn and Illinois. He is currently the Falcons' pass game specialist. He's been there just kind of, I think he was hired during the coaching change from Arthur Smith to Raheem Morris. The 3 years before that, he was an offensive quality control coach for the Chargers, primarily working with quarterbacks, which obviously meant Justin Herbert. And then the 2 years before that, he spent a year at Ohio State with Justin Fields as a GA and a year at Clemson with Trevor Lawrence as a GA. So, I mean, somebody with obviously has worked with some really high-level quarterbacks. You think about Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Lawrence, Fields, somebody who, fits probably a very similar mold to what Tino Sunseri did when Kurt Cignetti hired him from Alabama. Sunseri had not been a full-time assistant. At least I'm almost certain he hadn't. But he was kind of a GA quality control role, and he was kind of Steve Sarkisian's right-hand man at Alabama. And Cignetti really loved what he'd seen from Sark's offenses at Alabama, and he wanted to bring somebody with him that could kind of speak to what Bama was doing and how they built some of what they were trying to do. And I don't know that, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a little frog in my throat. I don't know if there are any, sort of deeper connections with Whitmer here in terms of, Cignetti knew obviously Sal Sunseri, Tino's dad, both Pittsburgh guys, and Cignetti could also call Nick Saban for a reference on Tino. I don't know if he's got similar sort of connections to Whitmer, but certainly he's bringing in someone who's been exposed to some pretty high level ideas, some pretty cutting edge ideas in offensive football and in coaching quarterbacks. And I think it's a very intriguing hire. I think it is the kind of hire that, I never want to call anything like a can't miss anymore, but it feels like a very sort of serious and aggressive hire, maybe rather than trying to go out and just recycle somebody that's been around for a long time and you kind of know what the floor is, but you wonder where the ceiling is too. Because I think Cignetti really counts on his quarterbacks. Cignetti really counts on his quarterbacks coach and his offensive coordinator to be very innovative for him. He's obviously a film junkie. He watches a ton of stuff, but he also trusts those guys to really implement it and kind of explore it in the way that they coach their positions in the offense as well.
Yeah, on paper, this sounds like an absolute home run hire. It is a guy that has the experience, especially for kids that Indiana will be recruiting now. They're going to want to their goal is to get to the league and to have a coach that has that experience that was there. That is just all the more enticing for them, I think. And I think that today in today's market, you have to have that. You have to have something to offer these guys because that's where they want to go. And if you're competing at the level Indiana is now competing at, you are going to be dealing with the type of athletes and quarterbacks that is their goal. And this is, wow, you talk about a great replacement. I think Kurt Cignetti, he said that we appreciate everything that Tino has done. And it's not that we won't miss him, but we won't miss a beat. And he wasn't kidding. Not only did they not miss a beat, they probably took it up a level with this hire.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to call like position coaches in particular better or worse than others, just in the sense that it's really probably more that it's different, if that makes sense. It's just going to be a different approach to coaching the position, a different way of sort of connecting with quarterbacks to try and teach them, obviously, the fundamentals of whatever they're trying to do offensively. It's worth saying Whitmer is also going to be co-offensive coordinator, just like Tino was. I assume Shanahan will still be calling plays. But that sort of collaborative relationship that Tino and Mike Shanahan had, I think Kurt Cignetti will expect that to continue with this hire. I don't know that I don't know if it's better or if it's worse. I think it's probably just different. And I think it's more about the idea of, when Kurt Cignetti has the opportunity to go hire a young, hire a fresh assistant who is going to have significant influence on his offense, whether he's co-coordinator or not. If you're coaching quarterbacks, you're going to have an enormous influence on the offense from a coach's perspective. And he's kind of once again chosen to hire somebody with, who's younger, but who's got a background in really kind of trying to innovate and trying to constantly sort of be at the front end of whatever's going on. So I think I don't call any hire a good hire anymore. That stuff's just like, it's just sort of like, you never know what's going to make it, what's going to make it good, what's going to make it work. But I think that it certainly feels like the sort of hire that Cignetti has had success with in the past, and we'll see how it works.
Absolutely. Zach Osman with the Indy Star joining us on Indiana Sports Beat Radio today. We've got more coming up. I've got to take a quick break. And Zach, if you could stay over a little bit through the break, I'd like to talk a little bit more. We're kind of off schedules right now with having Sean McDonough on, but we've got more coming up. And can you stick around, Zach?
Yeah, just for a little bit. I got to hit the road if that's okay, but I can stick around for a little longer. So
we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. It's college football playoff kickoff day. Indiana travels to South Bend to take on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame in the first ever on-campus kickoff game, and it's going to be an exciting time. The crowd is going to be jacked, Zach, and this should be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if it's not. Weather doesn't seem like it's going to affect it. I think the snow's already tailing off in South Bend. I know it's going to be snowing. I think people are going to want to be careful driving up today. Because it seems like it's going to be snowier around, kind of the I-69 corridor up through Indianapolis to Kokomo. But I mean, I would be surprised if it's not a good game. I think there's just tons of questions that I really can't answer about this game in terms of there's lots of strength on strength. But even then, you look at Notre Dame's run offense and then you consider some of the teams they've played this season, especially recently, and wonder if maybe those are just teams that are overmatched in ways Indiana won't be. You look at Indiana's run defense and you say it's really good, but have maybe the Hoosiers benefited from a run defense perspective from how often they've gotten out ahead of teams and forced teams to start throwing the ball to try and keep up on the scoreboard. And so, are teams really committing to the run, or are they abandoning it because they feel like they have to score quickly and a lot? And, that's going to lead you to have some nice rushing, yard against numbers. So I could do that with you in the pass game. I could do that with you in turnover margin. I could do that with you in a lot of different places. I mean, it's just kind of one of those games where it feels like sort of like a Super Bowl. We've analyzed it to death. Let's just play the thing.
Exactly, brother. And it's going to be an opportunity for Indiana. Well, it's the biggest opportunity they've had in the program's history, because there's no doubt that because of what's on the line, of where it is, what it is, all of that goes in. This is the biggest game in Indiana program history, and that could lead to yet another one if they're able to win this game. It certainly, everything is on the table for Indiana, and they have the opportunity to do it. I think they're capable of doing it, and we'll certainly see if they can get that done. I know it. Don't want to hold you up, Zach, so you can get on the road to head to South Bend. It's a pretty nice drive. I've got to be honest with you. I was shocked. I was like, this isn't too bad. But as long as the roads are clear.
I used to live up there. I used to live in Goshen, which is about 30, 40 minutes east of South Bend, but it's in that same area. It's called Michiana, all those little towns that have kind of grown together over the years. And I think 31's a little more navigable now than it used to be. Like 37 turning into 69, 31. They've cut out a lot of the stoplights. I think Kokomo doesn't slow you down quite as much as it used to. But listen, again, I'm looking out the window of my office, and there's a fresh blanket of snow coming down, and up there they clear the roads pretty well. Down here, sometimes it's a little bit. You got to be a little bit more careful. So everybody is driving up today. Be careful, be safe, and we'll see you up there.
Absolutely. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Have a safe trip, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Thank you, brother. Zach Osterman, the IU insider for the Indy Star, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jeffrey the Greek joins us next, and we'll finish it out with us today. We have got nothing but football to talk about, and plenty of it, as we'll talk about all of the CFP first-round games. But, of course, Indiana and Notre Dame will take center stage. And why not? It's going to be a heck of a night, and it is just going to be something that fans on both sides are looking forward to and pretty much ready to hit. We'll take another break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. When we come back, JTG.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Friday. It is college football playoff kickoff, and we have Jeffrey the Greek with us. How are you, my friend?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Got the day off from work today. Last day of school for kids. We got college football playoffs tonight. If I were any happier, I'd be Twins.
If I was any happier, I'd be you, brother. I am in South Bend right now. Yeah, nice, that's why I'm not at my normal setup. It's not quite as good. But there's 5 inches of snow on the ground that was not on the ground when I went to bed.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to blow. Yeah, it looks like it's going to blow through here in a couple hours, and the snow is going to be done. So after that, it really just depends on kind of the temperature, but more than anything, the wind. You know, the wind is always the biggest factor in any game like that. But like Siggy said, hey, my quarterback's from Canada. He don't care.
Canadian quarterback, baby.
Yeah, I looked it up. Oakville, Ontario. He's from Oakville, Ontario. Truth be told, I didn't even know that. So good for him.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, the rest of them dudes, they ain't from Canada. But no, I was watching some of the Purdue game, and it did not have an impact. It was cold at the Purdue game. It was spitting snow, but it was cold. So they were able to throw the ball and run their offense pretty similar to how they would normally do it. And that's just going to be the key. And I think that's the difference between Indiana and Notre Dame is they have a multifaceted offense where Notre Dame is pretty much a one-trick pony. If you could slow them down, which most teams have not been able to do, if you have 2 guys that are averaging 7 yards a carry, holy crap, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love, their number 1 running back, is absolutely phenomenal. I had started watching Notre Dame, truth be told, kind of the last third of the year is when I started cluing in, like, hey, I better check these guys out. And then prepping for the Indiana-Purdue breakdown, I went and looked at a ton of Purdue football games. And, you know, trust me, we'll talk about the Hoosiers. I love talking about the Hoosiers. But this Notre Dame game is pretty darn impressive. The attack is impressive. They remind me a lot, actually, of the 22-23 Michigan Wolverines on some of the stuff that they do up front to try to trick your eyes, get the running back out the other side. And then on top of that, with the 2-headed monster they have at running back, Riley Leonard, 721 yards, 14 touchdowns out of their quarterback. You know, he's got a huge average as well. Certainly not an accomplished passer, but man, they love what they do, or I love what they do offensively. But that's going against this Hoosier defense, number 1 in the country versus the run. It doesn't get more compelling than this. I am so geeked to watch this game.
And they're legit against the run because they showed that against Ohio State. They
absolutely.
I'm not gonna say they shut Ohio State down, but they held Ohio State's running game. They held Ohio State far below their average.
Yep.
It was the lowest output of the year, and they gave up 49 yards on 2 plays. So this is a defense that is straight up legit. Bryant Haynes, a finalist for the Broyles Award winner, deservingly so. They're taking this game personally. I guarantee you. They know that it is going to come down to, if not stopping Notre Dame, I don't know if you can stop them, but you just have to slow them down because they don't have a lot of other options.
And a big part of that is going to be the defensive line. I mean, you could make an argument that the most underrated unit in all of the country is that Indiana Hoosier defensive line. They are big, they are athletic, they are smart, they swarm to the ball. I have to think when this Notre Dame staff knew that they had the Hoosiers as their matchup, really started looking at film, I bet a couple games in, they thought to themselves, holy cow, we have got our hands full with this Hoosier defense. It's going to attack. I'm not saying they're not going to let, the Hoosier defense isn't going to worry at all about the passing attack. That would be my interesting part. Like, I would love to be in that Indiana offensive line meeting room this week. Are they going to try to take a shot early in the passing game to see if they Hoosier defense on its heels at all? Because if they can't, and the Hoosier front seven could just play downhill on that rushing attack, at best, I think it's a stalemate, and I might err towards the Hoosier defense winning that matchup.
Well, you've got an All-American in Aiden Fisher at linebacker. They're pretty solid, man. That front line that you just mentioned, CJ West, Liddell Carr Jr., those guys are just talented. And they have, like I said, they have been there every game in, game out. And this is the biggest game of every one of their careers. This is a game that they have all dreamed of playing in.
Yes.
This is a game that was probably a year ago out of reach for most of these guys.
Oh, absolutely.
These guys, half of them are transfers from a mid-major program and playing at Notre Dame in the first college football playoff game. That's not, there's no way that they could think that. And this is their reality now.
And I tell you what, I'm glad you said that, Jim, because this is what I want to say. Listen, Siggy won all the awards, right? He's getting the Home Depot Coach of the Year, the AP. He deserves them all. I knew it would happen. I still don't know if people are grasping just what that dude has done. And what I focus on is the mentality shift that a coach like that has done. I was at Iowa, wasn't the best timing, but when Coach Fry retired and Coach Ferentz came in, what a coach has to do to implement a new system, a new way of thinking is so difficult to do. And what he has done to the mentality, those guys, every single one of the dudes in that locker room believes they're going to go South Bend and kick some butt tonight. And to get those guys thinking like that in essentially, call it 9 months time, when he took the job to where we're at now, maybe a little bit more than that, I guess, that is absolutely incredible what he's done. Like, they believe they're going to win this game. That's a huge part of this game. Maybe they get down, 10-0, 7-3, something like that. They won't think, they're out of this game. They're going to feel like they're the better team, and it's going to be much.
And on paper, I think that, excuse me, I think Indiana is the better overall team. A big part of that is because they are multifaceted on offense. They have a pretty good running game themselves. I'm not saying it's Notre Dame's because it's not.
No, but
it is certainly serviceable. And you add the passing game, well, their passing game's prolific. So if you have a serviceable accoutrement to add, that's huge. And that is not something that Notre Dame has. Defensively, I think Indiana's better on that side of the ball in totality as well. The front, you can say that they're equal up front. But in the secondary, Notre Dame, who has been good all year, they're dinged up. They're hurt. We got some young guys back there and some guys you could possibly take advantage of because they play a lot of man-to-man, and Indiana should be able to put those guys in some compromising positions.
I didn't see a ton of man-to-man on the games I've been watching recently. I saw what I thought was a lot of zone where the seams were wide open. I got to think Siggy and Mike Shanahan have been watching that game film for the past month, and they're drooling right now on the seams. Is Indiana going to bring, one of their plethora of slot receivers in to hit it? Will it be Zach Horton? I don't know, but man, those seams have been wide open. I believe, I'm convinced that Indiana's going to take shots in the passing game to start this game out. Notre Dame's run defense is very, very good. The rush defense numbers are a little bit deceiving for Notre Dame because they played those service academy teams. Those are the only teams that really had a lot of success running the ball versus this Notre Dame defense. It's a stout front seven, not the most athletic front seven, which would make me think that would lend itself to getting the ball out quickly and having time to do so. So like that's what I'm looking at. I'm not saying Indiana's not going to run the ball at all. Obviously, you have to have a mix and keep that defense honest. But if there is a way that big plays are going to happen, a lot of points are going to be put on the board for the Indiana defense, I think it's going to be the passing attack.
Do you think this is going to be a higher scoring game? The over-under is 50, but I think that's easily reached depending on that's only 25 points apiece, depending on which way you go. I think Indiana has to score in the 30s in this game. It doesn't have to be a high 30s, but I think maybe like 31. Yeah.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I think this Indiana defense, like you look at what this Indiana defense did to the Ohio State offense, and that was a lot better conditions, and when they were in the horseshoe. If it wasn't for that special teams gaffe, I mean, this was a 7-7 game at halftime, Notre Dame, Ohio State. And I think Ohio State has a better offense when you factor in, balance, both running and passing the ball. So I would tend to believe more of a lower game. I mean, I can give my prediction. I got Indiana 24, Notre Dame 23. So I got an absolute barn burner. So I have this going under the 52 points, not by a ton, 4 or 5 points, depending on where you get that line. I don't think Indiana's to score 30 points to win this game. Heck, I think potentially 21 points could be enough to win this game because I trust the defense that much for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I think that Notre Dame people are not, well, and it's not surprising, but I don't think Notre Dame fans are giving the Indiana the respect that they deserve. I don't think that they are acknowledging that this is a much better team than they are either expecting or allowing for them to. I can tell you this, it's a hell of a lot. They're a hell of a lot better than Northern Illinois. And so, yeah, this is a team that is very dangerous for Notre Dame, as a matter of fact, because of their success against the run. This is probably the kryptonite team that it's probably not the matchup they wanted. They think they think it is.
Notre Dame, yes. So that is a question I posed on the Eyes on Big podcast to my podcast partner. In my opinion, if I'm drawing up the worst opponent that I would have wanted to see if I'm a Notre Dame fan, player, or coach, is this Indiana team. Okay, first of all, I want a team from the South coming in to play in these conditions, not a team that's in, and I know Bloomington's quite a bit further south, so it's going to be a little bit like not quite the same, and the other side of it is you get the underdog role. On Vegas, you get the underdog role. We're the Hoosiers. You're Notre Dame. I mean, doesn't that set up perfectly for Siggy to psychologically convince his players, to go in and say, let's surprise the world? I mean, we just saw, it was a Jason Spiegel saying that all this fandom is hilarious. Notre Dame's going to crush, 31-17. I think he predicted. I understand it, but I think a lot of that has come from two things. Number one, people that have hardly seen Indiana play at all, or just watched that second half of the Ohio State-Indiana game. I just want to say again, I mean, that was a closely contested football game, that entire first half, until that unfortunate out-of-character drop by the punter that kind of opened the floodgates. That last touchdown was at the end of the game. It was still kind of a close, that was a closer game than I think the scoreboard really lended itself to. So I really, and I'd also say Ohio State has a talent level above Notre Dame. I'm not saying leaps and bounds above Notre Dame, but above Notre Dame. Notre Dame is somewhere in the middle talent level between Ohio State and Indiana. So, could mistakes happen? Could turnovers happen that would jump this thing into Purdue or Notre Dame jumping out and winning this game by a couple touchdowns? Absolutely. It's college football. I just don't think I see it because of that well-coached Siggy team and that Indiana defense.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be fascinating because it could be, Notre Dame is going to, there's 77,000 people in the stands. I don't know how many IU fans would be able to make their way in, but it's still going to be a pro Notre Dame crowd without question.
Sure.
They've taken a lot of grief over basically it being a soft stadium to play in. And they've been trying to push that narrative this week. I've seen several things out. Even some of the guys that do TV that are former Notre Dame guys. I saw someone said, "Hey, man, those guys got to wake up because if not, they're going to lose this game." And the fans are being called out. But now, not only do you have a fandom that is the wine and cheese crowd, there you go. I've heard that term so much over the last 2 days. Well, let me tell you right now, their cheese is frozen and the wine, the red wine is very cold. That I'm wondering if that will have an impact on the fans. It's going to be cold, dude.
Yeah, you get the
yelling's the only thing that warms you up.
Right. You get the muffled clapping because, half the crowd has gloves and mittens on. It will be interesting. I mean, I predict we're going to see a decent amount of red in that stadium. My thought process is, a lot of Hoosier fans are kind of happy to be here, right? Notre Dame expect to be here. And in fact, the way this thing sets up, Notre Dame, retirement home, that's hilarious. Notre Dame is probably going to be in the college football playoffs probably half the time, right? I wonder if Hoosier fans are going to snatch up these tickets because they feel like this is a once-in-a-lifetime situation to see this. This is historic. It's the first college football playoff game ever, as far as the 12-team playoff. So, I'm going to guess and say we're going to see about 20% red in the stands. And very interesting how much Notre Dame alum have had to take to the streets, if you will, to literally convince their crowd to show up and cheer, so that is going to be compelling to see.
Absolutely. And they are reminding them, hey, you guys can't just sit there and enjoy your wine and cheese. You got to get into the game. You would think a place like this, but it's not Ohio State. It's not Michigan. It's not Penn State. It's not Georgia or those places where the game is what matters. There is a lot of expectation. And when you get into that mode, that mindset of thinking, that's when you can certainly get bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I go back to, I think this is the perfect situation for Siggy and this team, that line hasn't moved much, it's still around 7.5 points. It's not moving towards Indiana. That means the public is mostly on Notre Dame. I get it. Notre Dame has looked really good this year. They're playing at home. They're Notre Dame. They got the gold helmets. I don't know, man. I just really feel like I've watched a lot of Hoosier football this year, and they're legit.
They certainly are. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get down to picking games, baby. Talking about winners and losers. And there's other games coming up on Saturday. The Hoosiers and the Irish, very fortunate. They are the only game in town tonight. All eyes will be on this game. What an incredible opportunity for Indiana. Dude, if they could win, if Indiana could leave South Bend with a win, not only would all of the things that come just with getting this win for Indiana come along, they would have they're going to take on a Georgia team that does not have their starting quarterback, it looks like.
Correct.
We'll talk about that as well moving forward. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this college football game day opening kickoff. We're back with more right after this break from our great sponsors.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on a snowy, frigid college football playoff kickoff Friday with Jeffrey the Greek. This doesn't get any better. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. Thanks a lot for being with us. We appreciate you. Jeffrey, what were we talking about right at the end of that last segment?
Well, I mean, as far as, predictions, I kind of already said in the last segment, but I like Indiana in this game. I mean, I'm sitting at +7, 52 points in this game.
It's dropped to 6.5 now.
So it has finally dropped to 6.5. I should have looked that up when we were on.
I just checked, and it dropped. It's dropped to 6.5. So it's been at 7.5 for most of the. Some people can get it at 7, but I've seen it at 7.5. All this same FanDuel, whatever. So that's a point. That's a big point, though.
That's a huge half point, right?
Yeah, underneath the 7.
I still got 7 on my app and 51.5, so that hasn't moved much. Even at 6.5, I would still lean towards the Hoosiers. I got it at 7.5, so I'm feeling pretty happy about that. I just feel like it would take poor play, turnovers, something along those lines for the Hoosiers to not stay within this game. And I do believe the weather is going to play into it too. I mean, last game I went to was the Iowa-Nebraska game. It was probably about the same temperature as what's going to be tonight in South Bend. And you can tell it affects the players. It affects throwing the ball. It feels like you're handling a frozen rock out there. So I feel like that's going to have at least a little bit of a effect on the game. And I love Siggy's comments. I love the fact that Rourke is Canadian. The 20 degrees in one situation isn't exactly always the 20 degrees in another. Wind, of humidity, stuff like that, that's going to play in. So yeah, I got Indiana 24, Notre Dame 23. So I like the Hoosiers, not only with the points, but to win outright. And if I had to bet one way or the other, I would go under.
I was going to say, and you'll take the under, it sounds like, because the under remained the same at 51.5. So, and that falls right in line with what you're thinking. And I'm tending to agree with you the more we talk because of the weather. I don't know that the scoring will be quite as high, but Indiana's defense, I think that they can keep Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the third highest scoring team in the country, right behind Indiana. They also are number 1 and number 2 in scoring margin. So something has to give tonight, which would be cool. But yeah, that's 6.5 points, but there is no way I would jump all over that if I was betting this game. But I think Indiana wins outright as well. I think that they will slow down the Notre Dame rushing defense. You're not going to stop these guys. I think they're just too good, but you don't have to stop them. You just have to impede their progress because they don't have that other element to really make up for it. Now, the quarterback, Riley Leonard, keeping him in check also is going to be something that Indiana has to do a good job of.
Yeah, Riley Leonard is a rhythm. It's not somebody that you typically see just steps in and carves defenses up nonstop. He has got to have kind of, agreeable down and distances. That's actually a really good point. Is Notre Dame does have really excellent special teams. One of the things that we saw we talked about earlier, Jamie brought this up with a kicking game. One thing we saw in the Ohio State game is obviously that game changed in the quote unquote blocked punt. I mean, it was basically a dropped play. Notre Dame excelled at getting to blocking punts, blocking kicks, especially. So I wouldn't want this to come down to a kicking thing all the time.
They have six blocks on the year.
It's insane. I mean, as a special team connoisseur, that doesn't just happen by accident. You are making a concerted effort to make kicking, block kicks and special teams a deal. So we talked about on the podcast too that's a big in this game. Overall, man, I mostly agree with you in that the Hoosiers are the more well-rounded team compared to the two. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win, but it sure would seem to me that it would be a close game.
I agree. Tennessee travels, to Columbus to take on the Buckeyes at the Shoe, and the Volunteers are getting 7.5 points. I kind of like that. I like this Tennessee offense. I think that they have a shot.
I don't know.
Surprise Ohio State.
I don't know how much I love the Tennessee offense. It's efficient when it's humming along. Don't get me wrong, but it's going into the Horseshoe, tomorrow night versus that Ohio State defense, which is, I think I could say it's a prolific Ohio State defense. I mean, that defense is incredible. I don't know if I see Tennessee scoring enough points in this game to pull out the win. I think it would take mistakes or just an incredible game plan by Tennessee to put a lot of points on the board or enough to win the game. And on the other side, Tennessee's got a really good defense, though. Really athletic and stout front seven. That Ohio State offensive line has not looked good, pretty much all year, but especially as the year's gone on, as they've just continually lost guys up front. Huge loss with, Seth McLaughlin, their center, going out a couple weeks ago. So I do see a low-scoring game in that as well. The weather will be a factor in that game as well. I do like Tennessee and the points, but I think Ohio State will be a little bit more aggressive with their play calling than they were against Michigan. I think Ohio State wins this game, but man, they got Ryan Day and those Buckeyes got all the pressure on them.
And Ryan Day has a lot of pressure on him right now for a guy that is 67-10, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
This goes back to before Indiana had gotten Kurt Cignetti locked down and everybody was having a coronary. I'm like, y'all, you need to chill. I go, he's not going anywhere. I do not believe that he had interest in going to any of these other Florida, Auburn, whatever, for that very reason. He could be at Indiana and be feted as the king, the savior, the guy who did what nobody else can do, or he can go to a place like that and 1 year into his tenure lose to a team that they don't want him to lose to, and all of a sudden be the new Ryan Day. He's not going to have to deal with that. That's why I never, ever thought that he was going to be leaving.
It's a huge factor. I don't think people realize how much, the psychology, how happy the wife and kids, are in with the coach. So like it's definitely a factor. I hope that means for Indiana's case that Siggy's there for a long time.
I don't. Well, he's pretty much locked down. He's 63. He's just signed a contract that will take him into his 70s. That he'll have. This dude was making $600,000 a year ago.
Yeah.
Now he's making $9 million a year.
Never say never in the sport of college football. That'd be the only thing I would say, but it definitely looks good for Hoosier fans.
Absolutely. So ultimately, you're going to pick Ohio State in that game.
Yeah. As far as the actual prediction, where's my sheet? I got Ohio State winning the game ever so slightly. I got 21-16, so I've got an even lower scoring game in that one.
Oh, so you're taking Tennessee in the points then?
I'm taking Tennessee and the points. Keeping it close. It's like I don't see enough points being put on the board for Tennessee to win the game, but I can see enough points being to cover the game.
Southern Miss traveling to Happy Valley. They are an 8.5-point dog to the Nittany Lions. And this is an intriguing game to me because SMU has an offense that can score points. Penn State has a defense that likes to stop points, but SMU is one of those electrical type offenses. Yeah. And I don't know that Penn State has done all that well with those type of offenses this year. Bowling Green put points up. USC put points up. They're kind of dangerous. I don't think that they're in danger of losing the game per se, but Penn State does not exactly have a great offense, although they did shock me in that Oregon game. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? That they haven't played like that all year long, and they do it in the biggest game of the season.
I would say Oregon's defense is at least as good as SMU's defense and probably better, and Penn State giving the ball in that game. That was aggressive play calling. Now, how does that factor at home in weather conditions? Again, not to keep beating the dead horse, but that's going to factor in. I like Penn State in this game. SMU has got a fun, electric offense. Their quarterback, Kevin Jennings. The funny thing is I compared him to Lamar Jackson, Lamar Light, and then James Franklin turned around and did the same thing in his press conference. Now, it's quite light Lamar Jackson. He's not that electric. The thing with SMU is they have to hit the big plays. They are not a plod, getting down the field type of offense. They scheme and try to hit something big. They'll hit a couple big plays. Will they hit enough against this Penn State defense to win? I don't think so. I think overall this Penn State team is quite a bit better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I tell you what, Brian S. says SMU has what weather is like. I agree. Of all of the games where weather is a factor, SMU coming all the way northeast to Happy Valley to play in these conditions tomorrow, that's going to be the biggest shock to the system, to those players. I absolutely believe that'll play into it. I got Penn State 28, SMU 17. So I got Penn State covering that 8.5. I don't think they will absolutely blow it out of the water unless SMU really tries to start making things happen at the end of the game and turns the ball over and Penn State kind of just runs away with it. But I like Penn State quite a bit in this game.
How do you do a whiteout when it's 20 degrees? Not many people have white coats, man.
I know. You're going to have to figure out a way to find out. Like my guess is there's a lot of coats that people wore for, snowmobiling or skiing, like something like you're going to have to find one of those to wear to the game.
Got to go get a white parka or something.
Yep.
Pull over. So is Penn State cover in this game?
I got Penn State covering. So 28-17, 8.5 point spread is mostly where I've seen that. So I got them winning by 11 in that instance, so by about a field goal. But that's another game, so that's 45 points. I've got that going a touchdown under the game total as well, if not a little bit more. I'm
you're on the under and taking FCMU
under. I am. No, I'm picking Penn State to cover, but the game to stay under the game the game total. I'm picturing a wonderful weekend for betting. Probably not all three of those games are going to go under, but I have been surprised at the numbers that they were set at and how many people have took the over and are not betting this thing down. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of the weather lead over short fields, and that's where points get put on the board. I could be proven wrong, but man, I think you're going to see a lot of coaches kind of feeling their way out in these college football playoff games. Factor in the weather, I think it remains tight.
Yeah, there will be one game in which there is an offensive explosion. I don't know which game. It could be Indiana.
Agree.
You never know. But somebody is going. It just always happens that way. Clemson is a 12.5 point dog at Texas.
Yeah,
that game really, but that's a big number.
Yeah, I like the under in that game as well, I think. And initially I thought maybe over, but man, Texas's quarterback situation has been weird. There has been this should we play Arch Manning? Should we, stay with Dr. Pepper Boy? And he hasn't looked good. Quinn Ewers has not looked good this year. But on the other side, that Texas front seven and defense in general has been incredible. Dabo likes to play these games close to the vest and stay within striking distance. So I don't know. I would tend to take, I'm kind of waiting to see if that thing goes up even more. I would tend to take Clemson in the points, but I swear I'm not a broken record, but I think I like the under in that game as well. I was shocked to see it over 50. I thought for sure that would be a mid 40 game total.
Yeah, it's all three of the games are right around 50, 51.5 for Indiana, 50.5 for Texas, and 53.5 for Penn State. But the Ohio State game, 46.5. I think these are two high scoring offenses. Why is that? It's only 5 points, but that's a chunk in an over under like this.
Yeah, we've seen, Tennessee be explosive. Obviously, we've seen Ohio State be explosive, but the defenses that they're going up against, they're going to say something about how successful those offenses are. And I think both of those defenses will show up. I would say just overall, all four of these games, how are these games going to feel? We've never had this before. This is going to be tonight and tomorrow. Yeah, I know there's some NFL games sprinkled in. Who cares? But it's the opening round of a 12-team playoff. That in and of itself is enough to see how is this going to feel. But on campus, how are these crowds going to be? We've heard crazy things about Tennessee fans gobbling up tickets in the horseshoe again from Ohio State fans. Like, I am very intrigued. Like, how is the ABC, ESPN gonna these games with SEC team versus Ohio State? It's going to be interesting to see how the feel is and what the coverage is going to be.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute blast of a weekend if you're a college football fan. First of all, you get to sit back and watch these four intriguing games, all different types of matchups, and it doesn't end after that. You get four more after that ends.
100%. And just, Jim, just these predictions we had right here. I saw Notre Dame. I saw Ohio State. I saw Texas. That is something where I have to eat my words as well. I assumed with having the 12 teams in that it would kind of just be 9 patsies and 3 extreme favorites that would be in this, invitational. It's not. It would be to see Boise State and SMU and Arizona State pulling this thing out. It's reverse, though. Those are the only 3 teams that I would have a hard time seeing win it at all. I've got 9 teams that could win this thing with Indiana being in it. So like it is, I think, as far as how this could have set up for the first year of the college football playoffs, I gotta think the 4-letter network is ecstatic because I mean, I know they didn't get their 5 SEC teams in, but man, every one of these teams a shot. I think it's going to draw a lot of eyeballs to TV sets.
Yeah, it is. And it could not have worked out any better, in my opinion, because there are going to be upsets. There just usually are. I don't think anybody, I didn't, anticipated the unbelievable parity that the transfer portal has brought to college football. It has really, you want to talk about a rising tide. It has definitely been a rising tide, and all ships have been lifted. It is amazing. Yep. But it's fun. Who has not had a blast with this college? If you have not had fun watching this college football season, then you're an Alabama fan. Or
right.
Or Texas A&M fan, an SEC fan whose team did not make the playoffs. Other than that, right. It has just been an absolute incredibly fun. Some of the games have just been wow. And I think we're going to see some great games this weekend. But I think it starts with Indiana Notre Dame. That could either be just a tight game like I expect it to be.
Yep.
I cannot see Indiana getting out and exploding offensively, but they have that type of offense. I don't see Notre Dame blowing Indiana out because they run the ball most of the time, and they're not going to score as often, I don't think, especially against this defense. So it's just going to be intriguing, man. But that's why they play the games. That's why they play the game. And to be able to have the opportunity for Indiana, for example, to go to Notre Dame to play in this game. And if they win this game, it does so much for that program. First of all, it just puts a gigantic stamp on the program. And then their motto going forward should just be the double bird to everybody. All the SEC, all the naysayers, like, how you like me now?
Yeah, I mean, and I tell you what, Bloomington's far enough south. You get a win like this, dare I say, 2 wins in the college football playoff, and all of a sudden you're maybe pulling in some SEC recruits down in there, and talent acquisition could wind up taking a bump up in Bloomington.
Well, and whoever wins this game will have a very good chance at that, because although they'll have to go play between the hedges down in Athens, Georgia, it'll be a bowl game. Sugar Bowl. They still have to go down to the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, which is SEC country. Indiana fans won't have to worry about tickets, or no one will have to worry about tickets in that scenario. But more importantly, Georgia is most likely going to be without its starting quarterback, who was hurt in that big SEC championship game, and he's looking at potential season-ending surgery.
Yeah, Carson Beck, it's not looking good, and people seem to be shrugging this injury off pretty easily. And there were this year quite a few times actually where Carson Beck did not look good. In the SEC, especially with their head coach, Kirby Smart, he'll pull the reins on anybody. The second he sniffs that guy should be pulled out, he'll put a backup in. They never did. So that must be clued into me that they don't love their backup quarterback all that much, especially with Carson Beck struggling. And now he's the guy here. It's like for the rest of the playoffs, he's suddenly going to be in a huge spot in about a week and a half. Going to be interesting to see.
Absolutely. So since we're making picks, we've got the winners picked in these games. Who wins overall? Indiana. You picked Indiana to win the game, right?
I picked Indiana to pull out the win tonight in South Bend. That's correct. Yeah, I got as far as the 4 winners, I got Texas, I got Indiana, I got Ohio State, and I got Penn State. So I got all 3 Big Ten teams getting through. And then after that, as far as the favorite to win. I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth because one part of me is saying I think people are being too chalky with their picks in the college football playoff, but yet the number 1 overall seed Oregon, boy, they look pretty tough to me. They seem to have just
they got screwed. They get screwed in the seeding, and I saw this coming. I was asked to do something, put in before the Big Ten championship game, my thoughts on who wins that game and why. I'm like, well, I think Oregon's going to win, but I think ultimately Penn State will win because this loss will be the biggest win of the season for them because it's going to put them at where I knew that they were going to wind up. They're going to host a game. They're going to host one of the worst seeds in the playoffs. Then if they win that game, they host the weakest bye team of the playoffs.
I know.
Whereas Oregon not getting that ride.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing in the world. I'm not typically on the side of Oregon fans, but in this instance, I have to be. Like, you shouldn't be the number 1 and get screwed like that. And that's where Oregon really, if you look at it, they've gotten screwed with their seeding. It is going to be something that they're absolutely going to have to address. I think they'll give it a 2-year run. How it's looked right now, the committee, whoever the decision makers are with this, they're gonna go away from the ACC and Big 12 automatically getting a bye. This is an actual bye.
You have to. That ruined. That ruined this year's deal. Having Arizona State, Boise State getting buys.
I think they should. I love that the ACC, Big 12, and G5 get their conference winner in. I love that they get an automatic
11, and
into 12. The 12. There you go. And I think you're going to basically see it work out like that as things move on. I maybe wasn't even grasping it this summer as much as I should have, how much it meant that, the ACC, G5, and Big 12 got a bye like this. I probably wasn't, like I said, I just wasn't grasping that. Now that you see it up front, I think that'll change. But overall, if you look at, typically you're going to look at what is the team that has the least weaknesses in a playoff. I think that's Oregon. Which team has the best quarterback in a playoff setting? That is Oregon. Man, I think they're going to be rested, when they play their first game here on, is it New Year's Day, right? I think that's the next round of the college football playoff. So I think Oregon's looking good.
Yeah, we'll see. I think everybody is susceptible. And Penn State kind of showed that, you could get to them, but they can never get over them without question. See, we had a quote that I wanted to throw up there, John. I believe it was. I can't find it now, but there he said, John's an IU fan. Everyone who's not an IU homer is picking Notre Dame. Well, of course they are.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it goes. I mean, they're a home favorite. Why would they not pick Notre Dame? Some people, Indiana has to prove itself. Indiana has 100%. To win a game, one of these games. Once you win that game, well, now you've taken some doubt out of people's minds that are not IU fans.
Yes.
But you have to do something to take that doubt away. They look at the Ohio State game, and half of them don't break it down to what really happened. They just see the loss, and that's how they view it. But Indiana can take care of that very easily tonight by taking care of business.
Yeah, Notre Dame is, as I call it, they're a helmet school, right? They got the Golden Domes. Indiana, by the way, I love Indiana's helmets, but they got the IU pitchfork. It's just not the catch it, with the, as they say, casual college football fans. So those are the ones that are going to pick Notre Dame. Now, I've listened to enough college football podcasts this week. I mean, there's respect out there for the Hoosiers. Maybe they're not necessarily picking the Hoosiers to go, play under touchdown Jesus and come out with the win. But a lot of people are giving the Hoosiers credit that they think this will be a close game.
Looking forward to it. Jeffrey the Greek, thank you, brother. It was a fun day.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Thanks for having me on, Jim. Enjoy the football
Merry Christmas. Tonight. Hopefully we'll get to do this again next week.
Yes.
Well, we get to do it next week, but hopefully it's a very joyous time.
Right.
Enjoy your holidays, you and your family, sir.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Jeffrey the Greek joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios here in South Bend, Indiana, as Indiana preparing to take on the Fighting Irish tonight in the opening game of the college football playoffs. Man, it has been a great day. Big thanks to Sean McDonough for joining us on the program, Todd Leary as well. And most importantly, each and every one of you. Don't forget, tune in for the post-game show tonight after the football game. And if not, we'll be back on Monday to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.